Why do stupid people think they're geniuses? The psychology of a Dunning-Kruger effect. Someone confidently arguing that they're an expert while completely missing the mark, and they don't even realize it. It's not just frustrating, it's a psychological phenomena called the Dunning-Kruger effect. In this video, we are uncovering why some people think they are geniuses when they are far from it. We'll explore how this bias works, the surprising science behind it, and how it shows up in everyday life. From the infamous story of a man who thought lemon juice made him invisible to why real experts often doubt themselves. We'll also dive into the role of confidence, the dangers of ignorance, and how to avoid falling into the trap yourself. Let's break it all down. What is the Dunning-Kruger effect? The Dunning-Kruger effect is a psychological phenomenon that explains why people with limited knowledge or skill in a particular area tend to overestimate their abilities. Think of it as a confidence bubble that forms when someone doesn't know enough to recognize their own lack of expertise. It's not just arrogance or stubbornness, it's rooted in cognitive bias. When you lack knowledge, you're unable to accurately evaluate your own competence or even spot mistakes. This effect applies to more than just academics or professional skills. It can influence decisions in everyday life, like someone who insists that they are an amazing cook after burning toast or confidently giving fitness advice without ever stepping into a gym. The irony, they don't know enough to realize how much they don't know. What makes the Dunning-Kruger effect so intriguing is that it's universal. We all experience it in some form. Whether it's trying something new for the first time or misjudging our own abilities, it's the humbling reminder that awareness and learning go hand in hand. In the rest of this video, we'll explore how this happens and what we can learn from it to improve ourselves. Origins of the Dunning-Kruger effect. The Dunning-Kruger effect gets its name from two psychologists, David Dunning and Justin Kruger, who uncovered this fascinating bias in 1999. Their research began with an unusual and hilarious real-world case. A man named MacArthur Wheeler robbed two banks while wearing lemon juice on his face. Why lemon juice? Wheeler believed that it would make him invisible to security cameras because lemon juice works as invisible ink on paper. When he was unsurprisingly arrested, Wheeler was genuinely shocked. He had no idea how wrong he was, showcasing a perfect example of overconfidence fueled by ignorance. Inspired by this, Dunning and Kruger conducted experiments to test how people evaluate their abilities. The results were astonishing. People in the bottom quartile of performance consistently overestimated how well they had done. In contrast, high performers tended to underestimate their competence. This groundbreaking study revealed how limited knowledge creates a double handicap. You're bad at something and equally bad at realizing it. Their findings have since become a cornerstone in psychology, helping us understand how biases affect decision-making and behavior. But how does this effect actually work in our minds? Let's dive into the mechanics next. How it works. The Dunning-Kruger effect boils down to one critical flaw. People with low competence lack the self-awareness needed to recognize their own shortcomings. This is because of the failure in metacognition, the ability to evaluate your own thinking and performance. In other words, you don't know what you don't know. Imagine someone trying to solve a complicated math problem without understanding the basic rules of algebra. They might feel confident in their solution because they don't realize all the rules they've broken. Similarly, in social or professional settings, this effect explains why some people are convinced they are brilliant public speakers or natural leaders when their actual skills fall short. Interestingly, the effect doesn't just inflate the confidence in the unskilled, it also causes skilled individuals to doubt themselves. Experts often assume that if something feels easy for them, it must be easy for everyone, leading them to undervalue their expertise. This cognitive bias thrives in isolation, where there is little feedback to challenge false beliefs. The result, a dangerous mix of overconfidence and poor decision-making. But the good news is, by understanding how it works, we can start to recognize it and even combat it in our own lives. The confidence curve. The confidence curve is a visual representation of how knowledge and confidence often interact. Imagine a graph with competence on one axis and confidence on the other. As someone begins learning a new skill or topic, their confidence skyrockets quickly. This initial peak is often referred to as Mount Stupid, where they know just enough to think they're an expert, but not enough to realize how much they have missed. As they gain more knowledge, confidence takes a sharp dip, landing in the valley of despair. Here people begin to grasp the complexity of what they are studying and realize how little they actually know. With persistent learning and experience, confidence starts to climb again, forming a steady incline towards their true expertise. This is called the slope of enlightenment, where competence aligns with the confidence in a more realistic way. The confidence curve is a key part of the Dunning-Kruger effect, showing why people with little knowledge can feel so sure about themselves. themselves, while experts often question their abilities. Understanding this curve can help us stay grounded and encourage us to keep learning instead of sitting at the Mount Stupid. Why it happens? The Dunning-Kruger effect occurs because of a critical failure in self-awareness, the ability to evaluate your own thought processes. When someone lacks knowledge in a particular area, they also lack the tools to recognize their mistakes or assess their competence accurately. Essentially, ignorance creates a double-blind situation. You don't know enough to realize you're wrong. And the factor is overgeneralization. People often assume that if they are skilled in one area, those skills translate to other areas as well. For example, a successful business person might think that they are also a great public speaker, ignoring the nuances of effective communication. Social influences play a crucial role in here too. Many people don't receive honest feedback about their mistakes, leading to inflated self-perceptions. When mistakes go unchallenged, confidence grows unchecked. Interestingly, the opposite is true for experts. As people gain more knowledge, they start to recognize the vastness of what they don't know. This awareness can make them undervalue their abilities and question their expertise. Ultimately, the Dunning-Kruger effect is a reminder of how our minds can mislead us, emphasizing the importance of humility and lifelong learning to combat this cognitive bias. Everyday examples. The Dunning-Kruger effect isn't just a theory, it plays out in everyday life, sometimes with hilarious or frustrating results. Take the workplace, for instance. You've probably encountered a coworker who's completely convinced that they are the team's star performer, even their contributions fall short. They dominate the meetings with the misplaced confidence, oblivious to their actual skill level. Social media is another goldmine, for example. People often present themselves as an expert in fields they barely understand, whether it's debating politics, dispensing medical advice, or explaining complex science. With just a few Google searches, they act as they thought they have mastered the years of education. DIY projects also provide classic cases. Someone might watch a couple of YouTube tutorials and suddenly feel ready to fix their car or remodel a bathroom, only to create a bigger mess. Even in social interactions, the effect is evident. Consider someone who's a terrible listener but insists that they are the best at giving advice, or someone who is oblivious to their poor sense of humor yet labels themselves a life of the party. These everyday examples show how the Dunning-Kruger effect isn't just an abstract concept, it's a reality we encounter all the time, sometimes even in ourselves. Recognizing it is the first step towards avoiding it. The opposite problem, imposter syndrome. While the Dunning-Kruger effect explains how the unskilled can be overly confident, its counterpart, imposter syndrome, highlights the flip side of this psychological coin. Imposter syndrome is when highly competent individuals doubt their abilities and feel like frauds, even when evidence proves that they are successful. Imagine a seasoned professional with years of experience who still believes they don't deserve their achievements. This happens because experts often have a deeper understanding of how much there is to know. The more you learn, the more aware you become of the gaps in your knowledge, which can make even the most skilled individuals feel inadequate. Unlike those on Mount Stupid, these individuals delve in a mental valley of self-doubt, always questioning whether they are good enough. The irony, while the unskilled flaunt flawless confidence, true experts may hesitate to share their knowledge out of fear of being wrong. Imposter syndrome and the Dunning-Kruger effect together create a strange imbalance in society. Loud confidence often comes from ignorance, while quiet doubt stems from expertise. Recognizing these psychological patterns is key to finding a healthy balance between humility and confidence. How to recognize and overcome it. Recognizing the Dunning-Kruger effect in yourself or others is the first step towards avoiding its pitfalls. The key is to stay curious and humble. Start by asking yourself, do I really know as much as I think I do? Self-awareness is your best defense against the overconfidence. Feedback is another powerful tool. Actively seek constructive criticism from people who are more knowledgeable than you. Honest input can shine a light on blind spots you didn't even realize you had. Embrace the idea of being a lifelong learner. Even experts never stop learning, and acknowledging the gaps in your knowledge is a sign of wisdom, not weakness. Don't be afraid to admit when you don't know something. It's far better than pretending to be an expert. Finally, remember that confidence should grow with competence. Stay cautious of quick, surface-level learning that can make you feel overqualified too soon. Instead, dive deeper into topics knowing that true mastery takes time and effort. By recognizing the Dunning-Kruger effect in your life, you can avoid getting stuck on Mount Stupid and instead aim for the steady climb of genuine understanding. The journey may be humbling, but it's worth it. So what's the takeaway from all this? The Dunning-Kruger effect isn't just a quirky psychological phenomena. It's a powerful reminder that confidence doesn't always reflect competence. Whether it's in the workplace, on social media, or in our personal lives, recognizing when we are overestimating our abilities or underestimating them is crucial. Remember, true growth happens when we are willing to admit what we don't know, seek out feedback, and embrace the process of learning. The road from Mount Stupid to the true expertise is long, but the more we understand about how our brains work, the better equipped we are to navigate it. So the next time you catch yourself or someone else strutting around with too much confidence, ask, is this based on real knowledge? And if you're feeling unsure of yourself, know that it's just a sign of your awareness, not lack of ability. Keep learning, stay humble, and keep questioning. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit that like button if you found this video insightful.